Hi there, and welcome to part two of our How to Build a Roadbook series. If you haven't watched part one, look for the link in the description below. Otherwise, here you go. Here, this is the kind of the second session on our How to Build a Roadbook, and what does that mean? And I've got Jimmy Lewis here with me, and we're going to talk about, okay, last time we kind of set up what is all this, and why would I do this? And now it's some of the things I need to consider if I'm getting started. So me and my buddies are sitting around talking about, hey, I want to go build a road book. Here are some things that I would consider. When I've built quite a few road books, ones that a lot of people have written, and here are some of the things that I've considered. And Jimmy's probably written 10 times as many map books as I have. So the first thing that I just think about is, okay, you got to figure out where you're going to do this. Where are we going to ride? And we live in the West, so we definitely have a lot more options around kind of BLM areas or Forest Service roads and things like this. So if you've, obviously if it's a place that you've ridden before, then you have some advantage. If you have some GPS tracks, we'll talk about that later, but if you have some tracks that kind of document where you've ridden in these areas, that also makes a big difference. It might be an area that you just want to go and check out, like, ooh, whatever, Western Nevada, I want to go check that out. It is possible to actually go build road books on places that you haven't ridden before, even if you've never talked to anybody. Usually it doesn't work out quite as well. But
yeah, and there's lots of different opportunities and options for doing this. Like I say, you can go to the extreme of I've never been here before. I'm going to kind of try to build a road book that will allow me to explore the area. But if you're just getting started, it's probably pretty important to start small and start with an area that you're familiar with. Because that way, the building the road book is the new thing. You don't want to add a new area and a new thing and get kind of complicated. So in the beginning, especially to find out whether you like it or how much work it is, and the stuff that we will talk about is, start with an area that you're, very familiar with. I would always say if you're going to do it, it's easiest in most of the applications to do it with an existing GPS track. In the old days, we used to just go ride the route, and with a notepad and a pen and paper, you'd basically do it, we'll call it analog. You just do it on the bike and moving along. But now with a lot of the digital applications, Tulip, Rally Blitz, and there's a couple, or I'm sorry, Tulip and Rally Navigator, and there's a couple other applications. You can literally throw your GPS track on there, and it will do some of the work for you. So that's kind of some of the constraints just in the getting started point.
And when you're, let's say you have this area and you've got some ability to build a road book. And as we talked about in the first one, it doesn't all have to be off-road. It actually doesn't even have to, any of it be off-road. Obviously, you wouldn't want to build a road book in a congested city. But if if there's a small town with some roads, some country roads in the back of it, you can certainly build a road book to just learn how to do some basic navigation, obviously paying attention to what's going on the road. But you don't have to be out in the middle of nowhere to start to learn the basics around distance, direction, multiple turn choices at an intersection and things like that.
Yeah, and your points, like on our list here, are pretty basic. I'm just going to read through them because I think when you're starting to think about it, there's a lot of the considerations that are kind of important. It's like you get down to will there be gas or fuel stations, or are you having pre-planned and manned gas stops? So fuel range is always of importance, and always remember people could get lost. So your route mileage, their route mileage may vary based on where you think. What does happen when people get lost? And there's a lot of really unique trackers and apps that you can combine to literally watch where people are at when they're doing this kind of stuff. Is there cell service? Because some people don't have the satellite type trackers, and so if something goes wrong, how are they going to get out? What's their thing? What are the big hazards? Is it an area with a lot of drop offs, or is it an area where people are prone to getting flat tires or breaking bikes? Those are definitely things to consider. And then, where are you going to start is another one I see on the list that's pretty important because, if you're going to do it as a group, you have to be very aware of regulations that prohibit, kind of events taking place. So be cautious of that, so you don't become an event promoter when you don't want to be. What is the general flow of your thing? Are you doing loops? Are you doing point to point? Those are definitely considerations, and sometimes, the advantage of being able to do a road book is to be able to do something from point to point to point where you ordinarily wouldn't. So you're able to use less utilized areas. Maybe it's because of gas, or maybe because we don't know this area. So you're going to use the road book to take people there. Is there camping? Does there need to be? Is street legality a must? Always be careful of private property. Understanding there's a lot of stuff with that, and then a lot of times you have to be aware of where the areas are. Do they get congested on holiday weekends or just weekends in general? Is it an area where people, because some of the fun parts, the rallies, you'd like to use, open riding areas, sand dune areas, or open OHV areas where you can kind of crisscross or take like not the most obvious ways. It makes for challenging navigation. But remember, the local people out there might be going the most obvious way, which could be counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish with that.
Yeah, those play areas, those are the places where I always get a little cringy because, as you said, that's a lot of times that's where you can have some of the funnest little sections where you're trying to do some raw navigation. But you have people out there on side-by-sides and motorcycles kind of zooming around. I'm a big safety nut, trying to make sure that people are considerate of that. And you can put those kind of notations in the road books as well. So you can say, hey, you're navigating through sort of an open play area, so don't have your head down in the road book. Figure out where you're navigating to and look out there because, obviously, the last thing you want to ever have is some kind of incident.
As well as putting, speed limits and stuff in the road book. There's the capacity to do that. So, if you're whether you're on a street or you're getting an area that's kind of congested or camping, you can put a speed zone in there, and just to let people know, hey, pay attention to this. And as much as you're marking, your dangers on the road book, anything that you kind of consider to be a danger, it's just as important as as making sure that they're going the wrong way.
So if someone was going to go out and just build their own road book, hey, I've never done this before. I'm watching you guys do this. It sounds cool. What would you suggest? Like, what kind of route would you suggest? How many turns? How long? I just want to build something. Like, I want to go build something on Friday night and ride it on Sunday. Like, what would you recommend someone start out with?
I would literally make it, like I always say, like a 3-page notebook. So it's about maybe about 25 instructions, and just something really simple. And whether it's just going, whether you can ride from your place. I'm lucky. Excuse me. I'm lucky, and we can ride out our, essentially our front gate, and the first instruction is right at the front gate and turn and go down the street to where the gas station is, and fill up or get gas, and then make another right turn, and then you're heading out onto BLM roads. Keep it simple. Understand some of the different types of notes. Just as simple as, is this a paved road, or is this a dirt road, or is this a faint road, or is it a single track trail, and how how the lexicons inside the map book will distinguish that stuff. So try to have something that's simple, easy to understand, but also has a some diverse nature in it, so you can see how the map book you're going to make is going to kind of develop, and then go ride it, and then realize that maybe it's going to take a lot of practice.
Thanks for watching part 2 of how to build a road book. Part 3, which is going to be some general guidelines on how to get started, is coming up next. You can see it in the description below for a link, or you can just stay tuned and it should start playing. Thank you.